tonight.
They are seeking us, they are searching for us.
The race to get Americans and our Afghan allies out of Afghanistan as President Biden holds firm on his August 31st deadline. COVID-19 and its origins. China now blaming the United States for its spread. What a U.S. spy agency investigation found. And remain in Mexico. The Supreme Court sides with the Trump-era policy, dealing a blow to the Biden agenda. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
The race against the clock as the situation in Afghanistan remains desperate. Good evening, I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Browder. Welcome to Faith Nation. Well, 6 days and counting to get Americans and Afghan allies out of Afghanistan to meet President Biden's August 31st deadline.
It's an all but impossible mission, putting mounting pressure on the president to extend the timetable. CBN's Jennifer Wishon has tonight's top story.
It's unclear exactly how many Americans remain in Afghanistan, but getting them out, no matter how long it takes, is a cause that's uniting both parties in Washington and a growing number across the country. More than 70,000 people, including some 5,400 Americans, have been evacuated since the Taliban took control of the country less than 2 weeks ago. Each day, the pace picks up, while on the ground, a chaotic scramble continues as more and more Afghans try to escape the Taliban's oppressive brutality.
We're waiting to get through, but they're not letting us at the moment.
One Afghan translator explains he's still waiting for visa approval as he's hunted by the Taliban.
They are seeking us, they are searching for us.
The U.S. military is under ever-increasing pressure to finish its mission. The Taliban calls August 31st a red line, warning consequences will follow any efforts by the U.S. to stay beyond the deadline.
We're going to do everything we can with the time available. And each day, we're coming up with new and innovative ways to bring people in.
The military now dispatching helicopters to pluck some Americans to safety. And today we're learning two members of Congress, Democrat Seth Moulton and Republican Peter Meyer, both Iraq War veterans, traveled to Hamid Karzai Airport to conduct oversight of evacuations. Speaker Pelosi warning other members of Congress not to go.
This is deadly serious. We do not want members to go.
The tragedy unfolding on TV screens is generating bipartisan calls for the White House to leave no Americans or allies behind, calling the alternative unacceptable.
Sadly, sometimes more grimly, they are returned to their homes where they behead their family and then behead them.
Members of Congress calling the violation of America's word to its allies a future threat to national security.
What is the worth of the American handshake?
As communities across the country prepare to receive refugees, Afghans arriving on U.S. soil,
I think we are safe here,
are grateful to have escaped with their lives.
You work in a government in Afghani, like American, they kill you.
And a number of Christian groups are sending private planes to evacuate Christians and other religious minorities who face tremendous hardships if left behind, particularly Muslims who've converted and dedicated their lives to Jesus. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Michael O'Hanlon is here now to help us dive deeper into Afghanistan. He is a senior fellow and director of foreign policy research at the Brookings Institution. Michael, welcome. We're glad to have you with us this evening. So a week out from the withdrawal deadline, Secretary of State Antony Blinken says there are about 1,500 Americans still stuck in Afghanistan, in addition to our coalition partners. Did the president make the right call to stick with this timetable?
I don't think so, but there's still a chance the president himself is preserving some wiggle room, and that's what I'm hoping. I wrote something yesterday advocating that we not stick to August 31st, that it's a false deadline we created ourselves. The Taliban have no right to demand anything of us when they haven't been under their own obligations from last year's accord signed with President Trump. So I think that we need to, for the sake of human rights and decency, to be able to extend. But maybe Biden realized there was no point in telegraphing that too soon, because that could make this week's evacuations contentious. So he did give himself, as I understand his words yesterday, the option to reassess if absolutely necessary next week. And I hope he means that. And he's simply trying to prevent any kind of an early showdown with the Taliban this week. But he runs the risk of sounding like he's afraid of the Taliban and afraid of their reprisals. So it's a delicate rhetorical balancing act that I'm not sure he's getting quite right. Bottom line, I'm hopeful that he's willing to stay past next week, Tuesday, but I'm not yet sure, and I'm not sure the Taliban really know how to read him.
Speaking of the Taliban, Michael, the Taliban says it has changed in the last 20 years or so, Taliban 2.0, if you will, pledging to be more inclusive with regard to women. Michael, do you see any reason why women and young girls should take them at their word?
No. However, we do have leverage. That's the way I like to think about it. We have leverage to try to increase the probability of that outcome. We do not have the direct control, clearly. That's the traumatic and terrible downside of pulling out of this mission, a decision of President Biden's that I strongly oppose. However, we have the prospect of releasing their financial holdings and those of the government of Afghanistan, of granting diplomatic recognition along with our many allies, if they behave, if they moderate, of giving some amount of humanitarian assistance to protect human rights, basic educational gains, basic health care progress, much of which has been impressive these last 20 years, but only if they will comply with certain modest standards. We have to be realistic. We're not going to get the country we wanted. We're not going to get the country any of us would want to live in. But I think we need to think more in terms of our leverage than in terms of whether or not to trust the Taliban, because I think your question was a loaded one. And if I heard you right, I think I would be wary, you would be wary of trusting this particular organization.
Michael, some say with the Taliban back in control of Afghanistan, we're right back to where we were 2 decades ago, not to mention now the rise of ISIS-K. With the looming 20th anniversary of 9/11, are we more or less safe now?
I think we're more safe. I'm very sad by this outcome for the people of Afghanistan, and I'm worried for our own security. But I also think the Taliban have watched us fight hard for 20 years. And I want to salute the men and women in uniform, our diplomats, aid workers, everyone who was part of this struggle, because even if we didn't get to where we wanted to be, as former Marine Corps pilot Amy McGrath and I wrote last week in USA Today, we showed the Taliban that we are a tough and resilient nation. And if they cross our red lines, we are capable of going in and hurting them very badly, not with the same kind of mission necessarily that we've just carried out for these last 20 years. We have that kind of leverage, in addition to all the economic instruments that I just mentioned. And we have a lot more intelligence, homeland security, ability to crack down on al-Qaeda financial holdings around the world. We watch them much more carefully as they move. So there are a lot of instruments of American foreign policy and homeland security and counterterrorism that have improved in these last 20 years. So I don't think anybody should go to bed scared. I'm a little bit heartbroken, and I am more anxious, more vigilant, but I would not counsel people to think that somehow we're back in the same place we were 20 years ago. There has been progress.
Michael, we only have about 30 seconds left. Militarily, and more importantly, diplomatically, is the situation at all salvageable?
Well, yes, by the standards, by the criteria that I just laid out. I think we have ways to protect ourselves that are not going to be as efficient or foolproof, but we still have many ways of protecting ourselves and reducing the odds of an al-Qaeda or ISIS sanctuary from coming up on Afghan soil. And we have ways at least to give the Taliban powerful incentives to think about moderating their behavior. No guarantees, but powerful incentives. And that's a lot to work with. So I'm not supporting what President Biden has decided these last few months, but I think it's time to recognize that we still have a pretty strong position on a number of fronts in this particular challenge.
All right, Michael, that'll have to be the last word. Michael O'Hanlon with the Brookings Institute, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, while Afghanistan dominates the news cycle, the White House also talking about cybersecurity. President
Biden meeting today with his national security team and others after several breaches earlier this year, all in an attempt to figure out how to improve the nation's cyber defenses. CBN White House correspondent Eric Phillips joins us now with more on this. Eric.
Well, John and Jenna, you may recall the Colonial Pipeline breach that sent gas prices soaring and prompted long lines all along the East Coast. Well, that was just one of a growing number of cyber breaches. And today the president said he needs all hands on deck, private and public sector hands, to battle this problem.
I've invited you all here today because you have the power, the capacity, and the responsibility, I believe, to raise the bar on cybersecurity.
a needed improvement for lots of reasons. In February, a hack into the computer system of a water treatment plant near Tampa, Florida, increased the level of lye going into the water. Fortunately, the deed was detected before anyone was hurt. Just weeks before, a breach of government IT contractor SolarWinds, giving criminals access to government agencies, including the Treasury and Commerce departments. In May, meat processing company JBS hacked, shutting down plants in the U.S. and abroad. Officials pointed the finger at criminals in Russia for this one, just like the Colonial Pipeline hack that happened before it, leaving people scrambling for gas. In April, the New York City transit system attacked. The ferry to Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard breached at the start of the busy tourist season. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers want answers.
We need a comprehensive federal civilian agency cybersecurity strategy.
And from the White House, warnings.
Companies that view ransomware as a threat to their core business operations, rather than a simple risk of data theft, will react and recover more effectively.
President Biden laid out his plan months ago.
We launched a new public-private initiative in April. It begins with a 100-day sprint to improve cybersecurity in the electric sector. And we'll follow that with similar initiatives in natural gas pipelines, water, and other sectors.
President Biden also earmarked $10 billion in the COVID-19 relief plan for cybersecurity. But the White House is saying over and over again that they cannot fight this battle alone, underscoring the need for private businesses to take steps of its own to protect themselves. The latest from the White House. John and Jenna, back to you.
All right, thank you, Eric. Well, as the world leaders work to fight the spread of COVID, the search for its origins continue. When Faith Nation returns, the latest on the investigation.
To have sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire. Monday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Well, after more than 18 months, it appears the world is no closer to the origin of the COVID-19 virus.
However, U.S. officials hope new data on vaccines will motivate more Americans to line up for the shot. CBN's Brody Carter joins us now. Brody, it seems like we're still at square one on the origins of the pandemic.
Well, John, Jenna, for more than a year, world leaders supported China's theory that COVID-19 came from an animal in a wet market. Then a few months ago, CBN and other outlets reporting on the growing lab leak theory and gain-of-function research. In May, President Biden gave the intelligence community 90 days to find an answer. Now it appears those findings have been presented to the White House, but early indications are there's still no smoking gun.
最糟糕的国家，2015年1月到2020年6月。
China has taken the offensive, now blaming the U.S. for the spread of COVID-19.
We do not
accept baseless, unfounded accusations that are politically motivated.
U.S. spy agencies submitted their report to the White House on whether or not the virus came from a lab in Wuhan or if it made the jump from animals to humans. The results appear inconclusive.
We want the origins work to remain scientific, transparent, urgent, and inclusive.
It is a contradiction if you're saying that the lab hypothesis is a non-starter from a Chinese perspective, but we need to now go and look at labs in other countries. I find that difficult to understand, but very willing to engage with our Chinese colleagues to understand what exactly they mean by that statement.
The U.S. accuses China of both covering up and being uncooperative from the beginning.
Get vaccinated, and the time frame will be truncated dramatically.
On the medical front, Dr. Fauci hopes thanks to FDA approval of the Pfizer vaccine and other advances, we could see greater control of COVID by early next year if vaccinations continue to increase. Over the last 7 days, 6 million shots given out, the highest weekly tally since July.
In Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, more people got their first shots in the past month than in the prior 2 months combined.
Even with that good news, frontline workers still fighting a raging illness.
Kansas City is in a state of crisis.
Almost 80% of the country's ICU beds are full, with the South seeing the highest case rate. The CDC says at this rate, hospitalizations and deaths could spike over the next 2 weeks.
Vaccination requirements, they can help us end this pandemic, and the Justice Department has already said that vaccine requirements are indeed legal.
COVID cases are leveling off globally, except here in the U.S., reporting the most new cases and deaths than any other country in the last week. John, Jenna, back to you.
All right, Brody Carter, thank you. Well, it is the #1 fire in the country right now. That's what one fire official says about the Calder Fire burning in California west of Sacramento. Since August 14th, the massive fire has burned more than 190 square miles and destroyed more than 450 homes in the Sierra Nevadas southwest of Lake Tahoe. Right now, the Calder Fire threatens more than 17,000 structures and is only 11% contained. Earlier this week, CAL FIRE discussed the magnitude of this year's wildfire season.
Today, we are almost 3 times the number of acres burned in California over our 5-year average. Almost 3 times over. A lot of acreage is burning. Fires are burning in ways that nobody has seen before. Yes, I keep saying that. You keep hearing that, but it is absolutely true.
The National Interagency Fire Center reports 92 large fires and complexes in the U.S. have burned 2.5 million acres.
Up next, prayers just steps from the White House. We'll hear from the leader of Concerned Women for America on the group's initiative to pray for Afghanistan.
Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Wednesday at 3 on the CBN News Channel.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
Welcome back. Former NFL star Herschel Walker has announced his campaign for the U.S. Senate in Georgia. The move comes after months of speculation. In a statement, Walker says he can't sit on the sidelines anymore and promises to stand up for conservative values and get the country moving in what he calls the right direction. Walker carries the backing of former President Trump, and in July, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp described Walker as a Georgia icon and friend.
I think he certainly could bring a lot of things to the table. But as others have mentioned, there's also, a lot of questions out there on that.
And to that point, some GOP strategists are worried about Walker's past and fear he could cost the GOP that Senate seat. Walker will challenge Democratic freshman Senator Raphael Warnock in the 2022 midterm elections.
Support for the situation in Afghanistan coming in the form of chartered flights, personal hygiene goods for refugees, and prayers. Today, the group Concerned Women for America held a prayer rally at the White House. The focus was on demanding the rescue and protection of Americans stuck in Afghanistan and for the safety of Afghan women and children. Well, with more on the prayer initiative, we're joined by Penny Nance, CEO and President of Concerned Women for America. Penny, great to see you. Can you tell us more about the prayer initiative, who attended, and why you felt it was important to pray just steps away from the White House?
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always just an honor to be on CBN. At Concerned Women for America, we have about 500,000 members around this country. We're the nation's largest public policy women's organization. And we've been horrified as we've watched just the debacle of the unraveling of Afghanistan. And so we felt that it was essential that we stand together outside the White House, just steps from the White House, and come together in prayer, because frankly, we need a miracle. I appreciate the fact that the White House is flying evacuations right now, but there's still over 1,500 Americans that they even know about that are still in that country. It's still a hot mess. Alongside them, though, are thousands, perhaps 50,000 or more people who worked for the last 20 years alongside Americans who we promised that we would protect. And now we have the Taliban telling them, we're going to get you. We have stories on the ground of the Taliban going home to home and telling parents to put on the side of their house an X, a red X, if they have a daughter that's 12 or older inside their home. And that is so that they can easily come in and take their child and use her as a spoil of war for the Taliban fighters. If they happen to go in that home and they take the phones and they find a Bible app on their phone, find out this is a Christian family, they kill them on the spot. So it's terrifying what we're seeing unraveling right now in Afghanistan. And so we came together with women of faith from all over this country, different organizations, like we had Mercedes Schlapp there from ACU, American Conservative Union. We had Alyssa Farah, who used to work for the State Department, used to work for the Trump administration. We had Tina Whittington with Students for Life. We had just a large group of women of faith coming together to pray for the people of Afghanistan.
Yeah. Penny, the Taliban issued a temporary policy Tuesday for women to stay at home, indicating that the old mindset really is hard to break, and also adding that, some of their militants need to be trained first on how to treat women. Your thoughts on that, Penny?
That was a New York Times story. Okay, let's just enjoy that for a second. How crazy is that the New York Times is having to report already that women are told to stay home. They can't leave their home. They can't even leave their home because they're afraid they're going to be raped and abused by Taliban fighters. I mean, it is demonic what is being unleashed on this country. And I don't use that word lightly. You need to understand, I don't use that word lightly. But women and girls are at great risk. I mean, of course, we already know about being child brides and sex slaves, but even simple things like being able to leave their home without a man present, not being able to leave their home without covering their faces, little girls being able to receive an education and go to school. I mean, they're going to go back to the dark ages. And so we were asking, frankly, demanding that the Biden administration step up and do a better job. Every president since George Bush, so President Obama and Trump have said this can't go on and on. There needs to be an exit strategy, and we agree. But the issue is not like this. We cannot leave the people that have worked alongside us and abandon them to this desperate situation. We have to leave in a way that makes sense. But unfortunately, the Biden administration is not listening.
All right. Penny Nance with Concerned Women for America. We always appreciate you spending time with us and sharing your insights.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living Tuesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. Whoa! It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
The Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Finally tonight, strangers chipping in to brighten one boy's birthday. Tiffany Holloway couldn't afford to buy her son Jonas a stuffed manta ray for his 5th birthday.
Sorry, Jen. I was so excited about the story. I just stepped on you. So the Oklahoma mother sewed him one herself out of his old baby blanket and buttons from her own shirt. Holloway shared the image to Reddit and was flooded with people wanting to help. Jonas received toy manta rays, squids, and more of his favorite ocean creatures. One person even bought Holloway and her 4 boys tickets to the Oklahoma City Zoo just in time for Jonas's 5th birthday. Well, happy birthday to him, and we'll take more kindness for sure.
Oh, indeed. That's a birthday he's never going to forget. The whole family, probably.
Well, thank you for watching Faith Nation.
Have a great night.